You know that feeling, right? You just sat through an hour-long presentation, it was packed with data, and the moment you walk out, you can't remember a single thing. Happens all the time. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into some amazing ideas from the book Stories That Move Mountains. We're talking about how to stop making those forgettable data dumps and start creating persuasive visual stories that actually, stick with people.
Okay, let's just start with this quote from the legendary Robert McKee. I mean, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We all know deep down that stories are powerful. It's how humans have shared ideas for thousands of years. But, and this is the big question, if we know this, why does all that knowledge go right out the window the second we open up our presentation software?
Oh, yeah, we've all been there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Death by PowerPoint. Slide after slide after slide, just crammed with text and a million bullet points. And what happens? The most important, game-changing ideas, they just get completely buried in all that visual noise. They make zero impact. And look, the numbers on this are just wild. A study at Stanford University looked at how much people remembered after a bunch of short speeches. For your typical presentation, the recall rate was a measly 5%. 5. But when the presenters used stories, that number jumped all the way up to 63%. So what's going on there? It's because stories grab our emotions. They turn dry information into something memorable, into an experience. And that, right there, is the difference between being heard and being completely ignored.
All right, so it's pretty obvious the old way just isn't working. That stat should be a huge wake-up call for all of us. If we actually want our ideas to land, to convince people, and, be remembered, we have to do a total reboot. It's time to ditch those boring default templates that just put everyone to sleep. We've got to think differently about this.
And it's so easy to just blame the tools, right? Oh, PowerPoint is the problem. But what the source material argues is that the real issue is us. It's our approach. We learn how to use the software, which buttons to click, but nobody ever teaches us how to actually communicate effectively with visuals. So what do? We just keep repeating the same old mistakes, dumping every last piece of data onto our slides instead of actually crafting a message that makes sense.
Okay, so what's the fix? Well, it all comes down to this core idea from the book called intentional design. And listen, this isn't about needing to be some kind of professional graphic designer. No, not at all. It's about being a strategic communicator. It's about making a deliberate, thoughtful choice for every single thing you put on that screen. And what's so powerful about this is how it completely reframes what design even means. It's not just about making things look pretty. With intentional design, every choice you make has a job to do. I mean, think about it. That one little colored line you add to a chart, it's not just a line. It's a visual signal that's basically yelling, hey, look at this. This is the important part. This really is the core question you have to ask yourself. Are your visuals just decoration, pretty stuff you stick on at the end that actually just distracts from your message? Or is it intentional? Is it a key part of your story that's actively helping people understand what you're trying to say?
So how do we actually do this? How do we get from just decorating to intentionally designing? Let's get practical. We need a blueprint for our visual story. This is the foundation, and it all starts with two big steps: ideation and composition. You know what the biggest enemy of creativity is? That blank page staring back at you. Ideation is how you beat it. A great way to do this is with something like mind mapping. Just get all your visual ideas out on the page. Don't judge them, don't overthink it. Let your brain make connections, find metaphors. The most important thing here is to not censor yourself. Just get it all out. You can clean it up later.
Okay, once you have a bunch of ideas, you've got to arrange them. And this is where a kind of surprising rule comes in, from the designer Timothy Samara. Think about it, a story is all about movement and change, right? Well, your design needs to feel that way too. Perfect symmetry is often really static and honestly kind of boring. What we want is a dynamic flow that guides your audience's eyes across the slide, creating energy and interest.
All right, let's get super practical, because these three techniques are absolute game changers. First up, use a grid. Think of it like an invisible skeleton that holds everything together and brings a little order to the chaos. Second, you've got to try the squint test. No, really, try it right now with this slide. Just squint your eyes. What pops out? That's what your audience sees first. Is it the right thing? And finally, number 3, edit without mercy, using the rule of 3.
People are only going to remember a few things. So what are the 3 absolute most important takeaways? Don't give them 10 bullet points. Give them the 3 things that actually matter.
Okay, now we're going to zoom in on the details. The book calls this content coding, and a great way to think about it is like you're creating a visual grammar. You're using things like color and fonts to build a consistent language so your audience can instantly understand what they're looking at.
You know, even something as simple as a font choice sends a huge message. Just look at these 2 typefaces. On the left, you've got a serif font. See those little feet on the letters? That feels more traditional, maybe a little more formal. On the right, that's a sans serif font, no feet. It feels more modern, clean, maybe a bit more direct. The point is, neither one is better than the other, but the choice you make has to be intentional. And then there's color. Man, color is probably one of the most powerful tools you have. It's packed with meaning. Sometimes it's obvious, like blue for water. Sometimes it's conceptual, like red for hot or for danger. But, and this is super important, sometimes it's cultural. White might mean purity in the US, but it can mean mourning in parts of Asia. So you have to know your audience.
Now, to keep from just creating a visual mess, the book has a really simple but powerful rule. Colors usually work best in 3s. So maybe you pick a light background color, a darker color for your main text, and then one bright, vibrant color to make the really important stuff pop. That's it. It keeps things simple, clean, and cohesive instead of just chaotic. So when you put all this together, your blueprint and your coding, something really cool happens. You stop just making slides. You start designing for impact. You're actually crafting an experience that's going to stick with people long after you finish talking. And a massive part of that impact is just the words you choose. Now, this isn't about dumbing down your ideas. Not at all. It's about being clear. It's about respecting your audience's time and attention. So cut the jargon. Use plain, direct language. Your goal should be to make your message so smooth and clear that it just slides right into their heads without any effort. And here's a great pro tip to help you with that. There's this thing called the Flesch-Kincaid readability score. I know, it sounds super technical, but it's not. It's just a tool that tells you how easy your writing is to read. You want to aim for a score above 60. That means your message gets through easy peasy. To give you some perspective, Reader's Digest is usually in the 60s, the Harvard Law Review, down in the 30s. Definitely aim for Reader's Digest. So when it all comes down to it, these principles give you a choice. Are you going to just keep dumping data on people, or are you going to use the power of intentional design to tell a real story? A story that actually connects with people, persuades them, and maybe even leads them to a whole new way of thinking. The choice is yours.